French history in a hurry. We need to know a little bit about what went down in France to make it the country that it is today and how it has influenced the United States of America. First of all, you need to know that France has had civilization even before history began, maybe even as far as 40,000 years ago. Now, France is located in Europe. It is sandwiched in between Germany and Spain. England is a close neighbor to the north. This is very important. If you'll please look and see how close they are to one another. They're only separated by the English Channel. The United Kingdom, or England as we call it, is an island country and therefore was always searching for more land so that they could rule over it. So a lot of times they would go crossing the English Channel and taking parts of France. Julius Caesar from ancient Rome conquered France in 58 BC. We'll be learning about him. He's very exciting. Latin became the basis from which the French language evolved. For over 40 years, France and England fought countless wars for territory. They're always fighting for land, always. In 1429, Joan of Arc, a simple peasant girl, led the French army to victory against the English invaders. She was later captured by the English and burned at the stake for witchcraft at the age of 19. In 1534, the French started conquering other areas. So the map that you see are places where France conquered and had territories there. And this is why French is spoken in so many different places in the world. Here are some French colonies that you might be familiar with. The French Guiana in South America, Haiti in the Caribbean, St. Croix, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Quebec, Canada, and the Ivory Coast of Africa. This is important. The reason why the United States, or that France is important to the United States, is because in 1775, the French joined the American colonists to help them fight for independence from the English. Mostly they did it because they don't like the English and they are very sensitive to England, coming in and taking land. And so they decided they would help us to fight against them. Without their help, we could not have won the war. We could not have won our independence from England. So all of these wars and going and finding different territories in the countries or in the world cost a lot of money. And the common people were starving and being taxed to death. And if they didn't pay their taxes, they were imprisoned. So they revolted against the king and they stormed the Bastille, which was their nation's center for power back in 1789. And they had a revolution and they captured the king and the queen. The queen at that time was Marie Antoinette. She's the one that is attributed to saying, "Let them eat cake," when she was told that the peasants were starving and had no bread. And she was executed in 1792 by guillotine. Her husband, King Louis XVI, was also executed by guillotine a year later. So now they don't have a leader. Their king is gone. Their queen is dead. They've pretty much killed all the nobles, and so they don't have anyone left in charge. So they needed a leader. And in 1792, Napoleon Bonaparte became that leader. He fought many battles in other countries, and he crowned himself emperor in 1804. He was captured by the English, and he died in 1815. He did not die. It's possibly cancer or something else. The English did not kill him. All right, then there was the Great War. That's what they called it back then, also known as World War I. So Germany declared war against France and invaded back in 1914. Then after the war was over, France got back some of its territory of Germany that it had lost 100 years earlier, which makes them a huge target for the next war that is coming that you already know about. So basically, not only did they get their own land back, but then they also took some land that used to be theirs. And that didn't make them super popular with the Germans. So now World War II happens, and France is conquered. in 1940. It fell early in World War II and became ground zero for many battles. The French underground helped win the war by supplying much-needed intel and disrupting supplies and communication for the German forces. Poppy fields became kind of the symbol for all the lives lost during World War I and World War II, a total of 2 million lives. This is important. You need to know this for the semester exam. These are some of the inventions from France. They invented the hot air balloon. They invented film for cinema. They invented the metric system, the sewing machine, the refrigerator. They invented how to can foods. They invented Braille. They invented the scuba gear. These are all things that they invented. I think they invented pencils too. Here are some famous people of France. We already talked about Joan of Arc. We talked about Marie Antoinette. This is Claude Monet. He was an artist. Andre the Giant, he was a wrestler and also an actor. He did a part in The Princess Bride, cute movie. Louis Vuitton, he doesn't look like a purse. That's one of his, iconic things that he does. He's a designer. Here's a famous place. It's called the Louvre. I know it doesn't look like it says Louvre, but it's the Louvre, and it's a museum. And you'll notice it because it has that like a pyramid made of glass in front of it. The Versailles Palace. This is where Marie Antoinette and King Louis XVI lived before they were beheaded. Of course, you all know the Eiffel Tower because you drew a picture of it yourself. The Notre Dame Cathedral. I don't know if we talked about it. The Notre Dame caught fire a couple of years ago. And this beautiful rose window that's stained glass, it was destroyed. And some of the architecture in the inside that was wood was also destroyed. But none of the important things like paintings or relics or gold pieces, those were all saved. And I know that they're doing a rebuild on the Notre Dame Cathedral. I just don't know how they're doing it with COVID. So I don't know how much of that has been redone so far. You may want to check into it and let me know. But the Notre Dame Cathedral is very important for you to know. This is called the Arc de Triomphe, and it's at the beginning of the city. It's a triumphal entry. Many European cities have this, but the Arc de Triomphe is very important in French architecture, and that's the end. So please make note. What are the architectural features of France that are important? What are some of the things that they invented? Why are they important to the United States? These are all super important for you to know. All right, au revoir.